Every year, a research firm called Dalbar measures how much money the average investor actually takes home compared to the market itself. And every year, the answer is ugly. In 2024, the S&P 500 returned about 25%. The average investor, 16.5. That's an 8.5-point gap. Not because they picked bad funds, because of their habits. Bad timing, too many trades, chasing whatever was hot last quarter. The market gave them 25. Their own behavior took 8.5 points off the top. Think about what that means on real money. Say you've got $500,000. An 8-point gap over 1 year is $40,000. Over 10 years, compounded, that gap turns into hundreds of thousands, and you'd never see it on a statement. No line item says cost of your own behavior. It just quietly disappears. Here's what I want to show you today. There are 10 specific habits behind that gap. Not vague ideas, concrete, measurable mistakes with real dollar costs. And every single one of them gets solved by simplifying your portfolio down to just 3 ETFs. 10 habits in, 3 funds out. By the end, you'll know exactly which habits are costing you, exactly what they cost, and exactly how 3 boring funds fix all of them. And I do mean all of them. One of these habits quietly drains about $100,000 over 15 years. Most people have no idea they're doing it. Quick note, I'm not a financial advisor or government employee. Everything here is for educational purposes only. For your specific situation, always check with a qualified professional. If you're somewhere around 60, give or take a few years, and you're either approaching retirement or already in it, this is the part of the game where the rules change. It's not about growing the biggest pile anymore. It's about making sure the pile lasts, pays you, and doesn't hand a chunk of itself to the IRS every April. That's what these 10 habits are really about. Let's start with the one that gets the most people. Habit number 1, chasing headline yield. This is the most expensive habit on a list, and it's the most tempting. You see a fund advertising 8, 10, 12% yield, and your brain does the math instantly. 12% on 500,000, that's 60,000 a year. Problem solved. Except it's not. Let me show you why. There's a fund called QYLD. It uses a covered call strategy on the NASDAQ. Its yield right now is around 11.5%. Sounds incredible, but when it launched in December 2013, the share price was $25. Today, it sits around $18. The share price has dropped roughly 27%. Meanwhile, the NASDAQ itself tripled over that same period. So you collected those big distributions every month, and every month the value of your shares was quietly shrinking underneath you. That's NAV erosion. The fund is paying you with your own money. It's like withdrawing from your savings account and calling it income. Now compare that to SCHD, a dividend quality ETF. Its yield is about 3%, not flashy, but over the last 10 years, SCHD delivered roughly 13% total return per year. Your shares grew in value while paying you a rising dividend. QYLD paid you more each month and left you with less each year. Big difference. Here's a question for you. Have you ever owned a fund mostly because the yield number looked good on paper? Be honest. Habit number 2, stacking multiple covered call funds. Once someone discovers high-yield ETFs, they tend to collect them. JEP for income, JEPQ for tech exposure, QYLD for more yield, SPIY for a different strategy. 6 funds that feel diversified. But here's what's actually happening. Most covered call funds use nearly identical strategies. They sell options against a major index and hand you the premiums. 6 funds doing the same thing is not diversification. It's one bet wearing 6 outfits, and you're paying 6 expense ratios for the privilege. Smart retirees figured out that one quality dividend fund often does more than a stack of 5 complicated ones.
Habit number 3, ignoring expense ratios. This is the $100,000 habit I mentioned at the top, and most people skip right past it. SCHD charges 0.06%. That's $6 a year on 10,000. An actively managed dividend fund often charges 0.61% or more. That's $60 on the same 10,000. Let me think through this on a real portfolio. Say you've got $500,000. At 7% annual growth over 15 years, that 54 basis point gap, the difference between 6/100ths and 60/100ths, cost you roughly $100,000. Not in bad returns, in fees, money that came out of your pocket and went to the fund company every single year, compounding against you. And here's the thing, that actively managed fund, according to the SPIVA scorecard, about 90% of large-cap active funds fail to beat their benchmark over 15 years. You're paying more for worse results. Once you see that math, you can't unsee it. So that's 3 habits down: the yield trap, the stacking trap, the fee trap. Every one of them solved by owning a single low-cost quality dividend ETF instead. But the next group of habits might be even more costly because they're not about what you own, they're about what you do. Habit number 4, panic selling during a drop. JP Morgan published a study that looked at a $10,000 investment in the S&P 500 from January 2005 through December 2024, 20 years. If you stayed invested the entire time, you ended with about $71,750. That's a 10.4% annual return. But if you panicked and sold at the wrong moment and missed just the 10 best trading days out of roughly 5,000 trading days total, your return got cut roughly in half. And here's the detail that makes it worse. 7 of the market's 10 best days happened within 2 weeks of the 10 worst days. The biggest rallies show up right next to the biggest drops. So if you sold during the panic, you almost certainly missed the recovery. Those days don't send a notification, they just happen. And if you're not there, you lose them permanently. For someone pulling income in retirement, this hits even harder. Selling shares at the bottom to cover bills means those shares are gone. They never participate in the recovery. That's damage you can't undo. The fix isn't complicated. Own funds that don't force you to sell. If your dividends cover most of your bills, a crash doesn't require you to sell anything. You ride it out. Your shares recover on their own timeline. That's what a quality dividend fund gives you, not the highest return, the ability to sit still when everyone else is running. Habit number 5, checking your portfolio too often. A professor named Terence O'Dean studied brokerage accounts and found something that should bother everybody. The most active traders, the ones logging in every day, making the most moves, earned the worst returns. Not the best, the worst. Morningstar confirmed this in their 2025 Mind the Gap study. The average dollar invested in funds earned about 7% per year over the past decade. The funds themselves returned about 8.2%. That 1.2% annual gap, caused almost entirely by bad timing and emotional decisions, cost investors roughly 15% of their total returns. And here's what makes it worse. The most volatile funds had the widest behavior gaps, meaning the scarier the ride, the more likely people were to make bad decisions. A boring fund doesn't just feel better, it literally produces better outcomes because you're less likely to tinker with it. You know what the best investors in the Morningstar study had in common? They picked simple, low volatility funds, and they left them alone. That's not a strategy you'll see on a YouTube thumbnail, but it's the one that actually works. 2 habits down in this group, both solved by owning steady, reliable funds and resisting the urge to tinker. But the next cluster is where a lot of retirement portfolios quietly fall apart.
Habit number 6, buying individual dividend stocks instead of ETFs. This one feels smart. You research companies, you pick the ones with strong dividends, you build your own portfolio. You feel in control. But the math says otherwise. A finance professor named Hendrik Bessenbinder studied every U.S. stock listed since 1926. His finding was startling. Only about 43% of individual stocks beat one-month Treasury bills over their entire lifetimes. Treasuries, the safest, lowest returning investment in existence. And it gets sharper. The top 4% of companies created all of the net wealth in the entire stock market. All of it. The rest, combined, just matched T-bills. So when you pick individual stocks, you're basically betting that you can identify the 4%. Professionally managed funds can't do it consistently. 90% fail over 15 years, according to SPIVA. And the downside is real. AT&T was the definition of a safe dividend stock.
36 straight years of dividend growth, and in 2022, they cut their payout by 47% overnight. General Electric did the same thing in 2018, slashed from 12 cents a quarter down to 1 penny. These weren't speculative companies. They were blue chips that retirees counted on for income. One board meeting erased decades of trust. An ETF can't do that to you. If one company inside SCHD cuts its dividend, SCHD drops that company at the next rebalance and replaces it. You never have to make that call yourself. That's the difference between owning a portfolio and being a portfolio manager. One of those is a full-time job. Quick question before we move on. How many individual stocks are you holding right now for dividends? Just the number. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Habit number 7. Loading up on one sector for yield. Utilities pay good dividends. REITs pay good dividends. Energy companies pay good dividends. So you load up on all three, and suddenly 60% of your portfolio is in 3 sectors. That's not diversification. That's a concentrated bet disguised as income investing. In 2020, we watched it happen in real time. Dozens of S&P 500 companies suspended or cut their dividends. Energy got hit hardest. Airlines, hotels, banks. If your income depended on 1 or 2 sectors, your income disappeared exactly when you needed it most. A broad dividend ETF like SCHD solves this automatically. It screens for quality, caps sector weights, and rebalances on a schedule. You get the income without the concentration. No single sector can take you down. Habit number 8. Holding 15 or more funds. This one surprises people. More funds means more safety, right? Not really. The CFA Institute studied this. Most diversifiable risk gets eliminated by about 20 to 30 individual stocks. After that, adding more positions doesn't reduce risk, it just adds complexity. And a single broad ETF already holds hundreds or thousands of stocks. If you own SCHD, VOO, and a bond fund, you're holding exposure to over 4,000 individual securities across every major sector, with large cap and mid cap coverage, dividend income, growth, and fixed income stability. 3 funds, 4,000 names. Adding a 14th or 15th fund isn't making you safer. It's making tax season harder, rebalancing messier, and your odds of making a panic decision higher, because now there are 15 things to worry about instead of 3. 3 complexity habits, all 3 fixed by owning fewer, better funds. But there are 2 more habits left, and the last one is the silent one, the one that most people never calculate. Habit number 9. Keeping dividend reinvestment on in retirement. DRIP, automatic dividend reinvestment, is one of the most powerful tools during your working years. You buy more shares every quarter without thinking about it. Compounding does its thing. But in retirement, something shifts. You need that cash to live on. If your dividends are being automatically reinvested while you're simultaneously selling other shares to cover your bills, you've created an unnecessary loop. Buying and selling at the same time, generating taxable events on both sides, adding complexity that serves no one. Smart retirees turn DRIP off. They route their dividends straight to a cash account for spending money. Then they rebalance deliberately once or twice a year. Clean, simple. Fewer taxable events, less stress.
Habit number 10. Ignoring where you hold your funds. This is the quiet one, the one nobody calculates until it's too late. Not all dividends are taxed the same. Qualified dividends, the kind most stock ETFs pay, get taxed at long-term capital gains rates. For a married couple with taxable income under roughly $99,000, that rate is 0%. Above that, it's 15%. That's manageable. But ordinary dividends, the kind of bond funds, REITs, and covered call ETFs pay, get taxed at your regular income rate, up to 37% at the federal level. Let me put numbers on that. Say you're earning $15,000 a year in dividends. If those are qualified dividends inside a taxable brokerage account and you're under the threshold, you could own nothing. But if they're ordinary income from a covered call fund in the same account at the 22% bracket, that's $3,300 in taxes every single year on the same amount of income. The fix is account placement. Hold your dividend equity ETFs, the ones paying qualified dividends, in your taxable account. Hold your bond funds and anything paying ordinary income inside your IRA, where the tax doesn't hit until you withdraw. That one move can save you over $1,000 a year, and it takes about 15 minutes. If someone you know is holding high-yield funds in a taxable brokerage account, send them this video right now. This one fix could save them thousands. That's all 10 habits: chasing yield, stacking covered call funds, ignoring fees, panic selling, over-monitoring, picking individual stocks, sector loading, over-diversifying, running drip in retirement, and tax-blind account placement. 10 habits, and every single one of them points in the same direction: simplify. So here's what replaces all 10 habits. 3 funds. That's it. Fund 1, SCHD, the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity ETF. This is your income engine. It screens for companies with strong balance sheets, consistent dividends, and reasonable valuations. Its yield right now sits around 3%. Its expense ratio is 0.06%, which is basically nothing. And over the last decade, it's delivered roughly 13% total return per year. But here's the part that matters most for retirement. SCHD's dividend has grown at about 10 to 11% a year over the past decade. That means your income isn't just sitting still, it's growing, it's beating inflation. A fund that pays you more every year without you lifting a finger, that's what replaces the yield chase, the stock picking, and the sector loading all at once. Fund 2, VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. This is your growth engine. 500 of the largest U.S. companies, 15% per year over the last decade, expense ratio of 0.03%. And here's a detail that matters for taxable accounts. VOO almost never distributes capital gains. It's one of the most tax-efficient funds in existence. VOO isn't your income fund, it's your backbone. It keeps the whole portfolio growing, so your income funds have a bigger base to draw from 10 years from now. Fund 3, BND, the Vanguard Total Bond Market ETF. This is your stability layer. When stocks drop, bonds usually hold steady or go up. BND gives you a buffer so you don't have to sell stocks during a down year. Its yield is around 4%, and its expense ratio is 0.03%. Now let me run the math on a real portfolio. Say you have $500,000 and you split it like this: 40% in SCHD, that's 200,000. 40% in VOO, another 200,000. 20% in BND, 100,000. Let me actually work this out. 200,000 at SCHD's 3% yield gives you about 6,000. 200,000 in VOO at roughly 1% yield gives you about 2,000. 100,000 in BND at 4% gives you about 4,000. Add those up, that's roughly $12,000 a year in dividends, about $1,000 a month without selling a single share. And here's the kicker. If SCHD keeps growing its dividend at 10% a year, which it's done for the past decade, that $1,000 a month becomes roughly $2,000 a month in about 7 years. Your income doubled without you doing anything. Compare that to chasing a 12% yield from a fund whose share price drops 27% over a decade. One gives you growing income from a growing base. The other gives you shrinking income from a shrinking base. The math isn't close. And remember, a simple portfolio like this is exactly what Morningstar's research says produces the smallest behavior gap. Fewer funds, fewer decisions, fewer chances to panic, better results. Here's the line I want you to remember.
A portfolio you can ignore is worth more than a portfolio that performs, because it's the only one you'll actually stick with. That's it. That's the whole thing. 10 habits that quietly drain your portfolio, 3 funds that fix all of them, and the only real skill is the willingness to keep it simple when everything around you is screaming to make it complicated. If someone you care about is overcomplicating their retirement portfolio, too many funds, chasing yield, ignoring fees, share this video with them right now. Sometimes one conversation changes the math on an entire retirement. Which of these 10 habits hit home for you? And have you already simplified, or are you still working on it? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you're building income from your investments and want to stay ahead of the mistakes nobody else covers, subscribe to Dividend Hustle. I break this down every single week.